Day one began as we were all filled with optimism and excited about the challenge we were about to take on.
So we arrived on day one at our first campsite.
Our first night was very comfortable because it hadn't been raining and we hadn't walked that much that day, so we were setting ourselves in good stead for the next day, which was going to be a tough day of walking.
We were supposed to start off at a place called Gingerford Cross, but unfortunately our teacher had been issued with the wrong map, and we ended up being dropped off at a place called Blackcross, which wasn't very far off, and our assessor soon found us and we were soon back on track.
Which was a good start, but hold on, let's get on with it.
We set off in a positive mood, ready to achieve our expedition aim, which was to search for moorland life and history in Dartmoor. We were looking for historic monuments and buildings or any moorland life such as horses and ponies.
We did manage to get some footage for our aim of 2 lambs and their mother quite early on in the walk. I think it was around the second checkpoint at Huntington Cross with a grid reference of 664-662, which I think was very helpful towards our aim.
We generally stuck to the times on our route card very well. So we arrived at the dam in good time and tried looking for wildlife.
The first dam we went to, with a grid reference of 680-653, we saw an lamb.
Meet Terry!
That had been left, or its mother had died. We did not know what had happened. It was very sad to see, and the lamb was very timid, but we couldn't do anything to help it, so we just had to leave it, which was really sad actually.
It was quite unfortunate because he had his head squished between some rocks. He was still alive at the time, but probably didn't survive for very long.
When we were at the dam, we met up with our assessor for the first time, and he told us that because it had been raining quite heavily the days before our expedition, we would have to take a detour of our route and change our route slightly because the place we were trying to cross the river we were trying to cross was too high.
Our original route involved reaching the road and taking the bridleway north, then sticking to it until reaching the river, which had the water level over the safe amount. This would take us to Dartmoor, where we would head west until reaching Huckerby Farm. Our backup route was slightly shorter than the original route and was to take the same route onto the bridleway, however head west slightly earlier, but this brought us to a week forward crossing the same river which wasn't passable. The final route, and the one we took, was much longer than both other alternative routes, and involved continuing northwest on the road towards Hexworthy, past the Forest Inn and then turn into another road leading to a stable bridge over the river and continue on to Huckerby Farm.
We passed Ash House and we looked at that as part of our expedition aim and the history behind it, and it was the setting for the film Warhorse, which we had seen, so it was useful.
A nice little house in Dartmoor where the Warhorse film was filmed.
We arrived at our campsite, Huckerby Farm, about an hour late, and the team morale was a bit low, but we were an hour late because of our detour, not because we
were bad planning.
Yeah.
Arriving at the campsite, we were all delighted to sit back and relax after the small obstacle of putting up our tent and cooking. Within an hour, everything was set up for the night and we could finally go to sleep after a long and tiring day's work.
Yeah, we got through the night without being squished by a car or drowned in a river, so, didn't go too badly.
So, day 2, we set off at 8 o'clock, packed up our tent and had a nice porridge for breakfast.
Yum.
Our D.V. training really came into play at the Stepping Stones, which was checkpoint 5 of 648-737. This was when we had to unclip our bag and had to make sure that everyone was okay with crossing here. At first the teachers were quite worried because there had been some rain recently and they thought that it might have overflowed, but luckily it didn't.
This day we commonly saw cattle and trees. We could calculate the age of the trees from the circles on the stumps, and we made more notes on the fact that there must be birds and insects living in this habitat.
We found various forms of wildlife which have been filmed.
At the first checkpoint, with a grid reference of 656742, we saw many ring ouzels, which was very good for our project work.
Some birds, quite a few birds to be honest, but some very particular birds that were more interesting than others flying around.
For most of the afternoon we were walking straight into the wind, which proved very tiring, and one of the team members' ground sheet from the tent flew out of the bag, so we had a rather chaotic experience of chasing it down. But having recovered from that, we trekked on into the wind.
This didn't knock our rhythm as we continued walking at the required pace until we reached the destination.
Nuns Cross
Farm.
Dun dun dun.
There were myths around nuns being murdered there and children haunting it.
It was one of the worst nights ever.
Yeah, it was an extraordinarily early start that morning. Can't remember what time it was, but I remember not being happy about the time it was.
In the middle of the day there was a massive hailstorm, which was a big surprise because we were sitting down having a break after just filming a frog, which we had seen for our aim, which was a big surprise because we weren't expecting to see something so exciting as a frog. And this hailstorm suddenly came. We all were so surprised and we quickly had to get out our raincoats.
Pretty productive bit of information there.
We saw a frog in the stream at checkpoint stepping stones, and this indicates there were also small insects for it to feed on.
Overall, I think we got on really well as a team, and I would definitely do it again.
It was an experience with some good memories, but wasn't very enjoyable.
While D&B was not the most fun thing at the time, it is something of which I shall forever have fond memories.
It was the best option. So we were all very happy when we finally got to Princetown and got our chips.
Our very tired legs rested at the end of the day, and our achy team then travelled home for very long showers.
Money, stay on my craft and stick around for those pounds, but I do that to pass the torch and put on for my town. Trust me, on my INDEPENDENT shit hustling, chasing dreams since I was 14 with the 4-track bustin', halfway across that city with the back crushing. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give that to the people, spread it across the country. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give it to the people, spread it across the country.
Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us. Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us.
Now, can I kick it? Thank you, yeah, I'm so damn grateful. I grew up really wanna go fronts, but that's what you get when Wu-Tang raised you. Y'all can't stop me, go hard like I got an 808 in my heartbeat. And I'm eating at the beat like it gave a little speed to a great white shark on shark week. Raw, time to go up, gone, deuces goodbye. I got a world to see, and my girl, she wanna see Rome. Caesar make you a believer, nah, I never ever did it for a throne. That validation comes from giving it back to the people. Now, sing this song and it goes like, raise those hands, this is our party. We came here to live life like nobody was watching. I got my city right behind me. If I fall, they got me. Learn from that failure, gain humility, and then we keep marching. I said